Welcome to the Savvy Leader Podcast. Real conversations about the grit, grace, and gratitude it takes to be the savvy leader you were always meant to be. Okay, welcome back to the next episode of the Savvy Leader Podcast. Today, I am joined by Ty McLean. He is the founder of Moneta Research, and he works with investment teams using AI workflows to help with efficiencies. He can save you tons of money if you implement some of his incredible strategies. So, Ty, I am so energized hearing about your insights in relation to AI, but then also finance. We don't usually hear about finance with AI. There's a lot of other things people talk about. It's not always finance. So I'm excited to hear your story, how you got to where you are, and what you can share with us about where things are headed with AI. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So it's quite a long and varied story, but quite interesting in my opinion. So it was pretty typical with most people up until about the end of university, obviously, which is like college for you guys. So I did financial economics in university. About halfway through, I fell in love with audio engineering and essentially instrumental making for artists. So like as I was doing my dissertation, I was also kind of like mixing and mastering, recording people in my dorm room, doing a lot of special engineering on audio effects and auto tune and stuff like that. And so when I came out of university, I was kind of like drawn. I no longer really had passion for what I studied. I mean, I never really did, but you know, like when you're like 15 and you just have to choose something. So I just chose economics, right? But I actually loved audio engineering. So I actually moved back to my uni town to start doing that full time because there was quite a big music scene there in Leicester. So yeah, I did that for quite a while. I did that for about 2, 3 years. It was just audio engineering, making instrumentals, recording people live. But I started to want to kind of expand my work horizon with the music. And so, in order to do that, being from the UK, I wanted to work with the American market and American artists. So, in order to do that, I had to then learn marketing first of all, because it's all digital. So, I spent a good amount of time learning digital marketing, cold email, LinkedIn, stuff like that. Started having success and managed to work with quite a few artists actually. Uh, Built quite a big email list, and yeah, I did that for a while. So fast forward now, the audio engineering I think kind of like set my foundation for what later ended up becoming the AI engineering. Because there's a lot in common. Like when you're engineering in one way, you're also engineering in another way, but just with different tools and kind of a different mindset. But like the foundation and the first principles of it aren't really too different. You're basically building engines and systems. So yeah, fast forward now, I ended up getting into sales because essentially I'd learned quite a lot doing my own sales. So I was doing that remotely for like high ticket coaches, people that sold kind of like programs and stuff like that. I'm sure you're pretty familiar. But along all of this time, like in the background, I'm learning software development just out of interest, just out of because I used to like making my own audio plugins and stuff like that. So I'm kind of just learning Python. I'm doing all this in the background. So fast forward now, I've actually got a good friend we went to university together, and he's been an equity analyst, asset manager for like the past 9 years. And my coding essentially started getting to quite a proficient level. And so when we would start speaking and when we'd hang out, because I understand a lot of what he done just because we both done financial economics in university. So I still have that kind of financial base. So we would speak and then we would kind of speak about, oh, like Ty, is there any way that you could help me kind of like do this? Or could you build something that I could add on to my Bloomberg terminal that would do this? And over time, like it just became apparent that there's obviously a lot of kind of small automations that could be used amongst investment firms and especially amongst analysts inside of investment firms to kind of speed up their research and stuff like that. So yeah, I worked with him and he's actually my partner in Moneta because it kind of helps me keep grounded with some of the financial stuff. And yeah, it's just kind of been building from there, essentially.
What an amazing story. That is so fun. I love that it started with music, which you would never associate with finance. But then
Yeah,
when you're looking at all the ways that you can incorporate AI, I guess there are no rules, are there? I mean,
at
and you
all.
touched on it too. It's like this engineering piece. All it is systems and processes and that building of that machine. And I think when I know when I want to think about engineering, it feels really vast and like way over my head. But when you simplify it like that, it makes a lot of sense. I think
Yeah.
that's such a great story. So you got to tell me, what kind of music did you like to play?
So my favorite was trap, which is like a hip hop subgenre. Yeah, that was by far my favorite.
Fun.
A lot of Drake type songs. That kind of style.
Do you ever see yourself leaning back on that in the future? Or are you
Oh my
happy where you're at for
gosh,
now?
Kristen, like I've been back and forth so many times. It's like a love-hate relationship with me and music. But I think I'm finally at the point where it's never gonna go back to like what that was. I think I've really, really fallen in love with the AI engineering. And so yeah, I don't think the music is gonna see me again.
Oh, that's so sad, but you
Oh
just
no.
never know, right?
Yeah, I guess you never know. You're never too old to make
Um,
music.
I love it though. And so now you're telling me that you love AI so much. Help me understand, what kind of approach are you using and what are some of your guiding principles? I mean, AI can be quite an animal in so many ways, and
Mm.
it's got quite a reputation. So share with us a little bit about how you use it and what guides you in the way in your approach.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, I literally use it for almost everything. I think one of the first big mindset shifts for me that kind of helped me start to internalize and also kind of helps me with my building of systems now is kind of just like breaking down the synonymous aspects of what actually AI is, right? So if you look at artificial intelligence, artificial you could just replace with fake or man-made, right? And then intelligence is just kind of you could replace that with a human essentially. So to me, all AI is a fake human or a fake group of humans. And so when you look at it like that, everything that you use it for becomes very, very clear. Anytime you execute a prompt, what you're really doing is for just a second in time, you're kind of becoming God. Now, that sounds mad, but not in a religious way. You're becoming God in the fact that you are temporarily making a human to do a specific task. So when you look at it like that, use cases start to fly open because you start to think, okay, well, what would we use any other human for? What would we hire a human to do? What do humans already do? So to answer your question more concretely, what do I use it for? So I say, most businesses, they've got like three components. If you really kind of boil it down to essentials, you've got marketing, sales, and then the actual fulfillment, actually doing what you're being paid to do. So first use case, marketing, that by far is probably the heaviest lifting for me, because it does absolutely everything. So my target audience, the investment firms is quite a broad category. And inside of that category, there's very different types of firms with different types of investment strategies, with different types of philosophies. And not all of them are a good fit for AI. So the first thing, and kind of the first way that I apply my AI systems to myself, is I have somebody, again, kind of applying the fake human thing. I have a human that goes through the whole of LinkedIn and qualifies all the investment firms and separates the ones that are a good fit for me and aren't. So that's the first human. The second human goes through the list that are qualified, connects with them. The third human in the team scrapes the information, Googles them, collects all the data, and then kind of essentially does research and writes data points for me to be able to write my outreach. So from there, you can kind of imagine like how expansive it gets. But I basically have a marketing team of people, and that's one way in which I use AI.
That's incredible. And what a way to phrase that, and just the visual, seeing that person just going through all of LinkedIn or seeing that person go through, all of the other strategies that you have put together. So you must have some favorite platforms that you use. I would have to imagine you've got a pretty robust system in front of you that you tap into every day.
In terms of where I get the leads, or in terms of the actual system itself.
The system, or where, I mean both. I mean, what are
Okay.
your what's your go-to?
Cool. So the system is literally just Python. It's literally just on my computer, it's a folder with like 32 Python files. It's all code. Um, and then they integrate into what is the front end. For example, LinkedIn. So like they will connect into a specific type of browser, and then the browser will execute the code, if that makes sense. So it's literally just code, and then the tools you use like LinkedIn, like Facebook, like Instagram.
Wow, that's really amazing. It's so insightful. I'm learning so much.
Yeah, it's
I'm
really a
learning.
huge world. It's a huge world.
Okay, so when you're looking at what kind of, there's got to be some challenges you face with AI too. I mean, I've got a
Yes.
little bit of background. I know some things like hallucinations and different things. What are some of the challenges you find yourself facing? Do you have to really read through all of these things with a fine-tooth comb to make sure it's accurate, or, how do you approach all of that?
Yeah, I mean, the same way like a new employee or a junior might make mistakes is the exact same way that AI does as well. So you have to kind of be really good. Like you have to be the senior and you have to be carefully watching when it's doing stuff and double checking. So my biggest gripe with AI is the kind of that kind of human error element is that it does make errors. And I think over time, the more that I've used it, is the better I've kind of got at just knowing like when it's gonna do an error or like kind of pre-prevention, but also knowing what to look out for when it's starting to go down that route of laziness. It gets lazy. Sometimes it gets lazy. Sometimes you have to reboot it. Sometimes you have to send it to bed and tell it to come back to it tomorrow. And I swear to God, that's how it works. But yeah, that's my biggest gripe is like you said, it can make errors.
I love that you said it gets lazy because I'm sure all of us have experienced not only the hallucination part, but the what? Why did it just give me this when I asked for that?
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about being really specific and intentional, strategic, really, I guess, with
Hmm.
prompting to make sure that I'm getting as close to what I want.
Right.
And then, yeah, you still have to read it though. You still have to give it a dry run. And I love it though. You said, you look at it just like an employee. It's got a 90-day orientation.
Yeah.
So you've got
For
to
real.
watch it, you've got to coach it, you've got to build it. And that's machine learning and helping it to learn what it is you need from it. Do you then generate different, so you've got different folders for each different thing, so then you go back to that particular folder and then you just continue to build off of the same data?
Yeah, loads of folders, hundreds of folders. Sometimes if I built a system that's pretty similar to what I'm about to build or kind of has like the same foundation, I'll just drag it into a new folder and then get the AI to read what I've already written and start here, build from there, and then let's start doing this. I do that quite a lot actually.
Yeah, that's really helpful too. I mean, but again, referring back to you looking at it as your team and their bodies and people that are actually working through it, it really helps frame your mind around how to manage it because you do need to manage it. Um, Talk to me a little bit about misconceptions. I mean, are there things that people expect out of AI that it's just not, well, that we aren't privy to yet? Or are there, or are you finding that everything is pretty much true to what, have you ever not found a time when someone needed something you couldn't provide relation to AI?
Um, Earlier in the journey, there were times I weren't able to do certain things because the models weren't really there yet. But I think the main thing is kind of like the expectation. Like people expect AI to be perfect because it's like computer programs, basically. But like that's why I say it's very good to keep the frame of like it's a human in mind because humans aren't perfect either, and neither is AI. So it will make mistakes at times. So I think when people kind of get rid of that expectation of it to be perfect, then they'll kind of like embrace it a bit more. I think we've gotten to a stage now where there's a lot of people have tried it enough. People have tried like stuff like ChatGPT and Claude enough to kind of have a bit of skepticism because of they've seen it like hallucinate and they've seen it like take them down a complete wild goose chase that's just been completely fake and stuff like that. So I think we're at the stage where a lot of people that don't understand it deeply are now kind of skeptical and they don't think that it can get around certain challenges. But what's important for them to know is that AI is just a brain. When it comes to building software systems, AI is just a brain that you plug into it. Like, what's really important for the software system is actually the body and how you process what the brain does and how you feed it inputs in specific ways. Today, there's nearly nothing that can't be done. but you got to know how to actually data engineer and build the system in such a way that the whole thing doesn't rely just on the AI. The AI just does specifically what a human would need to think and apply judgment to, and then the rest of the system will do what it would do normally.
So again, just like your team of human people, they need managing and you need to learn their strengths and the areas where they can improve. And then you start to learn just exactly how to manage them individually, specifically. Um, it's so interesting listening to you talk about all of this, all of these parallels between just managing a regular business with people in it versus
Mm,
managing your
it's
AI,
the
your
same.
chatbots.
It's literally the same. If you don't provide your team with structure, if you don't provide them with the overall strategy, if you don't give them the softwares and computers that they need, if you just literally bring them into office and say, okay, make the business successful. So what?
Right.
They don't know. You need to like compartmentalize and give them small things to do and then make them work together. And then that's how you get success with AI.
So true. Absolutely. So true. So I've got to imagine that you spend a lot of time in front of many screens,
Yep. I've got
probably
two in front
working
of me
through
right
the things
now.
that you do. As someone who works remotely like that, and then you're working with people in a different time zone, I'm sure, many different
Yeah.
time zones. How do
Many
you
different
manage
times.
your days like that? And how do you stay motivated?
Oh, do you know what? I'm just used to it because again, I've been working with primarily the US market for at least 8, 9, maybe even 10 years now. So I'm used to the time zone thing. I'm used to late nights. In terms of management, oh my gosh, I'm OCD with like my computer and time organization, right? I put everything into compartments. And a really cool software that I'm gonna give it this much praise and say it changed my life, is a software called Things. Like it's literally just things, things. And it allows you to basically like the same way with a notebook that you'd kind of write down all your tasks. And I don't know if you've heard of the ABC method, like Brian Tracy type stuff, where you do your A task first. It lets you do that, but it lets you do it in a way where it's like nearly impossible to lose track of stuff. You can kind of like slice your life into different parts, like wealth, health, relationships, and then so you just never lose track of stuff essentially. So I think that's probably the biggest key in how I keep on top of all the time zones and what I need to do and all the projects and stuff like that is because of things.
I think I need things.
I think we all need things, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, how many times do we get caught? Damn it, you know? Ah, that's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's such a great tip.
no problem.
Okay. So, are there people that have influenced you from music to economics to now finance? Are there some people that have influenced you? I know your partner is probably one of them, but who else in your world has played a part in where you're at today?
Oh man, Kristen, so many people, and so many people continue to be honest. Uh, who are some of the big influences? I'll say my old employers. They kind of opened up my eyes into like what's possible in terms of like sales and sales cycles and what people are willing to buy and kind of like the mental frameworks. Like before working with them, the max that I'd ever sold was maybe like an $80 beat or maybe an in-person live session for maybe like 200. But like I came on board with them and I'd see that they'd meet people that they'd never met before and never met them. And in the space of 2 days, they're getting like 5 grand and 6 grand from them. And I'm like, and it's all virtual. And so I'm like, wow, like you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And I just never would have thought stuff like that's even possible. So I think that kind of made me start looking like really bigger. I got to speak to some really like sophisticated client of theirs during that time doing sales and just kind of realize, they're just normal people as well. A prerequisite that I think was definitely necessary for me to speak to the kind of people that I speak to now. So I don't come in with kind of like that intimidation. Because sometimes it's a bit intimidating, these guys are big, managing billions of dollars worth of portfolios, big jargon left and right. But because I know that it can be done and I've done it, it's definitely helped. So to answer the question squarely, I say my biggest influence in terms of business and sales would be my past employers for sure.
What a great story. And how relatable can that be? I mean, if we all were to spend a few minutes just looking around at the influences in our life and just all the people right in front of us right there and recognizing that, hey, here we are in this space. I never thought that I would be here, and I'm here now. And just embracing that and moving forward and through those spaces with the people and the influences in your life in that way is awesome. It's very inspiring to hear that you just kind of, well, I never thought I could, but they did, and now here I am, and I believe in it, and I believe in myself. I think that's so cool. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey. It's
Um,
steps for sure.
yeah. Do you feel like do you feel like you catapulted really fast, or did you take baby steps? I mean, like, was this a work in progress, or did it happen
No,
fast?
no. Like I finally feel like I understand, yeah, because I would always read like those books, those just traditional books like, oh, what's the name of the Think and Grow Rich, like those category of books, yeah.
Yeah, Napoleon
And yeah, Napoleon
Hill.
Hill, them sort
I
of
wanted to
people.
say Napoleon Dynamite.
I
Not
don't even
him.
know who that is. Is that like an artist or something? No. But yeah, like a common thing across all of them was that like this isn't an overnight thing. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And now that I'm here, I'm sure to a lot of people it might seem like, oh wow, like this is just kind of out of nowhere. But it's like, no, it's been 10 years of me learning one thing at a time. I started from just a normal uni student that doesn't know anything about sales or marketing or just about starting to learn to code to where I am today. And that was 10 years of learning one thing at a time, digital marketing, sales, coding, what's possible, trying it, sales, failing, like trial and error, failing, succeed, like 10 years. It's 10 years,
10 years of the grind.
10 years of the grind.
Um, was there one thing like was there something that kept you going throughout that time frame? I mean, did you just really believe in yourself, or was there people around you that supporting you, or was there some other things that you incorporated to keep yourself going?
It's such a great question. And you know what? The honest truth is, yeah, like I'm a really lazy person. And I know that sounds crazy, but like I'm really lazy. And before I went to university, I had like a typical like retail job on my local high street, like in like a clothes shop. And Kristen, like I've never hated anything as much as I hated that. So I think for me, it was always like my motivation is I know that my life, it just can't be that. So I have to find a way to succeed in a way where I can do it lazily, to be honest. Or at least a way that I enjoy. Let me not say lazily, but a way that I enjoy. And that's always been a motivation.
How great, though, and so true. Like I'm sure all of us can pick something in our past where we're like, whatever it is, I ain't doing that
Yeah,
again.
it can't be that. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
do anything but that again. And if this is what I have to do to not do that again, then I guess this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
Good for
100%.
you. I think it's so great. Okay, so we got to talk a little bit about AI. You're in it every day. You see things that probably the average person doesn't see, and I'm sure you're tapped into some knowledge and insights and even predictions out there about AI. What are your thoughts on AI in general? Is it going to take over the world, or do you think we're safe?
I think it's taken over the world. I think it already has, to be honest. Is it bad? Is it good? Subjective. I feel like everything's got its ups and downs. I think one of the leading causes of deaths today globally still is like car crashes and stuff. So you might look at it like, okay, well, a car is good or bad. It's like, well, they provide so much use that we just make do with their downside. And I think that's kind of where it is with AI. It's like I couldn't go back to not having AI. That's what scares me because it's like now I'm so dependent on it because it's actually so amazing, but there's definitely downsides to it for sure. In terms of where we're heading, I see the biggest shift that I'm seeing is kind of like military use and governmental use. Yeah, starting to kind of bring AI into the forefront. I'm seeing that a lot in news reports. So I think it's definitely from times where like governments and military can start using it, I think it will definitely start to build that trust and more bigger companies, enterprises will use it as well.
Wow. And I think, yeah, so many of us are dependent on it in ways that we don't even realize because it's been incorporated into our devices and into our day-to-day lives. It has been for some time, but we
Mm,
just have gotten used to it. It's like we've been conditioned, and we're
true.
slowly moving into this greater dependency on AI. I think you're so right. And what a good call out on the military piece of it. I didn't think about that. Um, but that to me just signals something big. Um, it really does. I find that so fascinating. Okay. What excites you about the future of AI, though? I mean, what's exciting to you coming down the pike?
Uh, it's a good question. What excites me specifically about AI? I think what excites me is what it allows me to do more so than like potential developments in AI right now. Um, but I think what's good is that like it's definitely going to kind of change the scope of things. A lot of people are scared that like a lot of jobs are going to be gone, which they will, but I think a lot of jobs are going to transfer over. All of the hard drive needs, like again, there's going to be a lot of needs for like electricians and plumbers and a lot more trade jobs now to support the growing amount of AI. I think they said the other day a lot of the big funds, they're not actually investing in AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic anymore. They're actually investing in companies that build the physical infrastructure. It's kind of like because they can see, okay, this AI is getting bigger, which means we need more servers, more physical computers, more space, more coolers, all of these things. So I think that's going to kind of open up the trade market again for people.
Okay. That makes total sense too. I mean, it's just going to continue to move forward and
Hmm.
we'll just be bystanders in all of its greatness. Um, okay,
I
how
mean, but what
about
about you though?
yourself?
What's like your thought about it? Like, do you feel like it's more good than bad? Do you feel like it's more bad than good?
You know, I am someone that's so open-minded to most things that I see what potentially where it could go, and I think depending on what industry you're in, I think it's going to
Hmm.
change jobs. Yes, I
Hmm.
do think that jobs are going to be eliminated, of course, because it saves too much time and thus money for companies when they've got humans doing things that an AI bot can do in 5 minutes in
Hmm.
their 5 hours. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's inevitable, but that doesn't mean that people will be unemployed. I think that there's going to be new jobs generated based on the needs as things shift. I think it's going to be a painful shift though. I think that it's going to be hard. We as humans don't like change,
Mm.
um, especially when it impacts us in a physical way. Um, but I think it's inevitable and I find it fascinating. And I think that there could be an element, I mean, when it's used by the wrong person in the wrong way, sure, I think it could be horrific. And I don't know that there's any way we could ever police that. So I always keep that in the back of my mind when I think about AI. And, just, but what can my oneself do about it? Not much. Not much. Just watch it unfold and try to prepare, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to learn a little bit more about what you do with your clients specifically, what kind of clients you're looking for, and just kind of the audience you'd like to speak to, and then what you're building towards in the coming, year, 2 years, 5 years kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So I'd say primarily I've got two client avatars. The primary one is the investment firm CIOs, like the chief investment officer, or whoever in the company is in charge of the portfolios and where the money goes, essentially. But recently also like the solopreneur, I've seen use cases there and I've started working with them too because it's like I'm kind of my own client avatar in that side. And a lot of the things that I use for myself are also very useful for any other solopreneur who's juggling multiple hats and has to cover so many things and has to write content and also, you know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely excited about growing that side. And essentially, because I've already built the systems there, I just need to adapt it to them and to their voices. A recent use case was basically doing my LinkedIn newsletter system for them. But what was cool about it is they've got a podcast. And so what I did is I literally just used my system but fed it with all of their podcasts to really get their voice down packed because that is literally naturally their voice. That is how they speak. That is how they communicate everything. And now, mixing that with intelligence collection, some of the biggest thought leaders in the space, some of the biggest blogs in their space, and mixing that with their voice, now she just has a conveyor belt of content that she can just reliably put out without having to actually take the time to research and write. And that saves lots of time for a solopreneur. Like she's got to do fulfillment, so yeah.
So smart. And I don't think people realize you can do that. Like you can just literally upload all this data and all this information in such a way that it can generate just, I mean, it's incredible that it's endless, you know. Well, I shouldn't
Endless,
say
yeah.
that, but it feels infinite, though there is some limitations, for now, anyway. All right. Now, you've been someone who's been in the grind for at least 10 years and you've been building your business and you feel like you're in a really great place right now. What kind of advice would you like to give a solopreneur or a young budding business owner? Um, what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Oh, that's an amazing question. Wow. What do I wish I knew then? The importance of marketing and sales, I'd say. That's everything. I think a lot of us, if you're lucky, you love what it is that you do. You love what you is that you fulfill on. But that can kind of get in the way of the fact, the real fact that you don't really have business unless you have marketing and sales like done, because that's actually everything. Your business really is marketing and sales, and then the fulfillment is just it's kind of on the side in a way. I mean, if you don't do fulfillment, obviously you won't, your clients won't stay, you won't. But without marketing and sales, you're just nothing. So the two main things I say to a budding solopreneur, or even to myself back then, is spend a lot of time, learn marketing and sales, and also put systems in place as soon as you can, where you do things repetitively the same way in sequences, because that way you can really test what's working, what's not working. You can get to the truth quickly.
Oh, that's such great advice. Because marketing is the key, and it seems like that's the one thing where people have a tendency to slow down on. They take their foot off the gas when money is tight. And because they think they can do it all themselves. They think, well, I can just do this myself instead of investing in something to help them really up their game.
Mm.
And then giving them the time to sell themselves in a better way. So it is one of the first things that's so smart. That is just so smart. Now, I'm curious, are there ways, or when you think about, so you went through a period of time where it was the grind. Was there ever a time when you felt like this is just not for me? Like I don't want to do this. I'm in a play. I don't like this. How does a person kind of navigate through that part of it, that tough transition, I guess, or determining where a better place or a better fit for them is? What if they started a business, they realize they don't like it? What do you do?
Yeah, yeah, another good question. I mean, first of all, I feel I'm still in the grind. The grind don't stop, boy. But countless times where I've just thought, okay, let me just get a job, let me just do the career thing. Countless times. But again, I think for me, like the motivation always came back to the fact that like I just, I've always wanted to be in charge of what I'm doing. I like strategizing. I'm a really deep thinker, so I like to kind of implement my plans. And doing that at a company is difficult. Like there's definitely benefits for working, for a company for sure. Like, but in the times when it was hard, I think I just would always think to the times when I was at a company and I just felt like I just would have made such a better decision than that, or I would have just done it this way. And I just kept thinking to myself, listen, like you're going to be here all the way until 80, 90. Just spend a rough time now, getting to the point where your thing can just be yours.
Perfect. That's so smart. That's so smart because it's so true. You just gotta do. And then it doesn't mean you have to let go of your dreams, but for now you gotta do what you gotta do. Awesome.
Hmm.
Where can we find you, Ty? How can we
Uh,
get in
so
touch with you and who can we help you meet?
yeah, best place is LinkedIn. Ty McLean. I do most of my stuff there. I'm there most of the time. I try and keep my social media centralized because I hate social media. So I can just about tolerate LinkedIn. So very easy to get through to me there. Um, Sorry, what was the last part of your question?
And I mean, what kind of audience are you looking for? Who do you want to connect with?
Oh, okay, yeah, solopreneurs,
Okay.
solopreneurs for sure, and investment firm CIOs if any happens to be watching. But
Yeah.
solopreneurs for sure, for sure. I think I can be very
Absolutely. Now
useful.
you touched on, I have to ask you because you mentioned this. You don't like social media. So many people have such a loathing for social media.
Hate it.
What do you see? How do you see AI impacting social media? Do you think it's just going to turn into a bunch of AI ads and fake, or what do you think? Do you think it's gonna
Yeah,
stay?
I think it's that already. I mean, it's like that's kind of like what I'm providing in my service a little bit. Like, I'm kind of, social media. I don't know, like because I never really liked it that much in the first place. It's kind of like, but yeah, I definitely think a lot of people are gonna be a lot of stuff that you see is not gonna be like genuine
Yeah.
content anymore. Um, yeah,
There's
for
going to
sure.
have to be another one then. It'll have to be a place because people need to connect. And as we continue to leverage our technology, we don't have to leave the house much, and we're going to losing that connection. And people are suffering because they're
Yeah.
not connecting with humans enough. Um, so there's going to have to be something else then, and I don't know what that is, but hmm, something to think about.
Well, I think that naturally is like kind of what pushes us towards. I think that's even what kind of pushes me towards to want to be doing like more networking and stuff because
Yeah,
in person and when you're chatting to person, you can never AI that. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So it's nice and refreshing when you actually get to speak to people and do podcasts like this and it's like yeah, like so I think humans find a way to balance out what they need naturally.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, I think. And I've also heard of some other fun things now that I think of it. Gatherings, no tech gatherings. People get
Oh,
together
really?
and they leave all their devices in the
Wow.
car or at home or whatever, and they all get together
Okay.
with nothing.
Nice. Sounds like a
Probably
good
see
idea.
some more of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much
Cool.
for being here. It was so great to hear your story. I hope that we can connect again sometime. Would you mind if I reach out? We do this again in a few months or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. Please, please, please. I had a
Awesome.
great time. I had a great time.
Awesome. I'm so excited. I'm going to share this with everyone. I'll get this information out to you when it's ready. But in the meantime, again, thank you, Ty. You're a wealth of knowledge. I applaud your success, and I'm grateful for great people like you in this world. Thank you.
I appreciate it and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Leader podcast. Be sure to check out the description for any relevant links and additional details that we might have shared throughout this week's episode. And if you're looking to continue this conversation, we'd love to see you over at the Savvy Leaders Lounge on Substack or the Savvy Living Network for additional insights. That's savvylivingnetwork.com. We'll see you there.